So yeah, we had a team of almost 1,000 people in the Philippines at one point. Um, it's now about, we still have a team of about 200 or 250 in Manila. Um, and let me just step back and say that I would say that yes, um, having people around the world help in the core marketplace with different jobs and tasks has been like was a core innovation for us, particularly back in the early days. Nobody was doing this, but building the expertise, like building this team and building within ourselves the expertise to like operate and manage a team like that was absolutely a core differentiator of who we are or who we were. And like, we would not be here today had we not built that skill. It allowed us to do things in the marketplace at enormous scale from like almost day one, like massive, mind-boggling scale that like people still today even have a hard time imagining. And we like had, and it was like a compounding effect in that we had ideas of like tasks we could delegate basically. And so we went out and we like figured out how to delegate those tasks to these people, many of whom are like my good friends and colleagues today. But then once we built the expertise, like we just saw a world of opportunity in our imaginations. Just every minute of every day we're running like, oh my gosh, like if I could do this thing with this team, like what about this other thing? And oh, like this thing on our engineering roadmap 3 years from now, we can actually pull forward and do it in a super ops heavy kind of janky way, and like scale it to enormous scale, 3 years earlier than we otherwise thought we would. So in many ways, our ops teams was like a substitute for like a significant sized engineering team in the early days. I think it was like, we had 10 engineers and 500 contractors like this. And so it really started with just kind of an attitude of like, we by our nature are very strong, are like ultimate delegators and very strong operators. And so we were literally sitting in the townhouse up above the Castro where we had our first office, and we all lived like, 5, 10 of us. And we were like, we have these service professionals typing their business descriptions into Thumbtack when they register. A lot of them are like poor punctuation, a lot of edits and misspellings. And so like, Jonathan and Mark, the other founders, are sitting there like editing these, like themselves editing these listings as they come through. And they thought to themselves like, I now feels like a good time to see if somebody else could do this instead of us. So they had no idea what to do. Jonathan put an ad up on Odesk at the time for somebody who could edit these job listings, and we got a bunch of applicants. There were 4 finalists, 2 in the United States and 2 happened to be in the Philippines, and they did a final writing test. And we thought there would be a trade-off that the team in the Philippines would be slightly worse English language skills, but would be a little bit cheaper. Turns out that the 2 applicants in the Philippines were not just cheaper, but they also had much better writing skills than the Americans, and they were much more motivated to get the job. So we hired one of them, and that first person that we hired, we got lucky. turned out to become the manager of the whole team, and she scaled herself up to 500 people, and the team up to 500 people. And you know, she she's one of my best friends in the world now, and she really made a life for herself through this random Odesk application. Her father is a tuk-tuk driver in Manila, and she kind of came from nothing. And like she always had it as a dream, a total crazy dream, that one day she would go to France and go to business school. And 5 years later, she actually went to do that. So anyway, that's kind of the founding story and the attitude that we took towards it, in building it, and it became a huge competitive advantage for us and area of expertise.